There are two Toyota SUVs parked nose to nose on a dealer lot near me, and the gap between them is the whole story of this company right now. One of them is built around a hybrid system Toyota has been refining for almost 30 years, the kind of drivetrain that shrugs off 300,000 miles like it is a warm-up lap. The other one had a recall early in its life because the wheels could physically come off while you were driving. Not a sensor, not a software glitch. The wheels. Same badge on both hoods, same reputation. Same salesman telling you either one is a Toyota, so you cannot go wrong. I have spent my whole life around these machines, and I can tell you the number of people who walk onto a lot and buy the badge instead of the vehicle would frighten you. I have seen guys pull apart a 250,000-mile Toyota hybrid transaxle and find wear you could measure in thousandths, barely there. And I have watched that same company ship an engine with metal shavings left inside it from the factory, shavings that eat the main bearing alive. Both of those things are true at the same time, in the same showroom, in 2026. So today, I am going to walk you through the 3 Toyota SUVs I would not put my own money into this year, and the 4 I would, ranked, with the real numbers behind every one. By the end, you will know exactly which versions of this badge still deserve the trust, and which ones are coasting on it. And stay for the number 1 best pick, because here is the strange part. It is technically an unproven vehicle, a first-year redesign, and I am going to tell you why I would still buy it anyway. That part matters most. Let me show you what is actually going on here. Toyota did not earn its reputation as a company. It earned it with specific pieces of iron. Simple port injected engines. A hybrid system with a planetary gear set instead of a normal transmission, so smooth and so simple, there is almost nothing in it to wear out. That is what people are remembering when they say a Toyota lasts forever, but the company sells that memory on everything it builds now, including twin-turbo engines rushed to market and electric vehicles that were not ready. The badge is a promise somebody else made decades ago. The machine in front of you either keeps that promise or it does not. So let us sort them. We start with the worst, and worst number 3 is the 2026 Toyota Highlander. Now hold on, because this is not a broken vehicle. Mechanically, the Highlander is fine. The hybrid version uses the proven 2.5-liter system making around 243 horsepower, and the gas version runs a 265 horsepower turbocharged 4-cylinder. The problem with the Highlander in 2026 is not the engineering, it is the arithmetic. For this model year, Toyota quietly killed the cheapest trim, made all-wheel drive standard, and the price of entry jumped by about $5,000 overnight. Then, in the middle of the year, they raised prices again by another $400 across the board. A loaded Highlander Platinum now stickers at over $53,000. And here is the part that should stop you cold. A similarly equipped Highlander one trimmed down costs about $8,000 less. You are paying luxury money for a family crossover that is now smaller inside than Toyota's own Grand Highlander, which often costs about the same or less. And there is one more wrinkle. Toyota has announced the standard Highlander is going fully electric for the next generation, which means the vehicle you buy today is the end of its line, and nobody can tell you what that does to resale when the name suddenly means something completely different. And notice what already happened to this vehicle a few years back, because it is part of the same pattern. The Highlander used to carry a 3.5-liter V6, no turbos, port, and direct injection, one of the most trustworthy engines Toyota ever put in a family vehicle. They pulled it and replaced it with a smaller turbocharged 4-cylinder that has to work harder, run hotter, and lean on a turbocharger to make its numbers. Is that engine bad? No, it has behaved itself so far. But you traded a known quantity for a maybe, and then they raised the price of the maybe. Meanwhile, the vehicle's own popularity works against you, because high demand means the discounts and incentives that soften other deals barely exist here, and buyers stretching for the loaded trims are taking on the steepest depreciation risk in the lineup. The old mechanics had a saying about paying twice for the same truck. This is how it happens. Nothing wrong with the machine. Everything wrong with the deal. If your heart is set on this size of Toyota, hold that thought. Because later in this list, I will show you the same idea executed properly, for similar money, with more room and better mileage. Worst number 2 is the Toyota Sequoia, and this one genuinely hurts to say because the old Sequoia was one of the great quiet legends. The previous generation carried a naturally aspirated 5.7-liter V8 that would outlive the body around it. The new one, redesigned a few years back on the same platform as the Tundra pickup, replaced that V8 with a twin turbocharged 3.4-liter V6 hybrid, making 437 horsepower. And I will be straight with you. That powertrain is genuinely impressive to drive. Smooth 10 speed, huge torque, tows over 9,000 pounds. The trouble is everything wrapped around it. Toyota threw away the independent rear suspension from the old truck and went back to a solid rear axle. And between that axle and the hybrid battery stuffed under the floor, the cargo area collapsed. Behind the third row, you get about 11.5 cubic feet. That is the worst in the entire full-size class, in a vehicle the size of a small barn. And here is the mechanism, so you understand why it cannot be fixed with an option package. A solid axle is one rigid beam connecting both rear wheels, and it needs room to travel up and down as one piece, so the floor above it has to sit high. Stack a hybrid battery on top of that requirement, and the load floor rises like a stage. That is why the third row sits with its knees up, and why your luggage goes on the roof. The third row itself is cramped enough that grown adults simply do not fit. Testers have called the handling clumsy, the ride shudders on rough pavement, and the whole thing returns about 18 miles per gallon overall despite being a hybrid. There is no automatic four-wheel drive mode either, so on a half-wet, half-dry road, you are choosing between modes like it is 1995, and the huge 14-inch screen on most trims sits a long reach from the driver. Consumer Reports used a phrase I have never forgotten: outdated on arrival. And hanging over all of it is the engine family. The non-hybrid version of that same 3.4 twin-turbo, the one in the Tundra and the big Lexus models, has now been recalled 3 separate times because machining debris left inside at the factory can destroy the number 1 main bearing. Over 270,000 vehicles caught up in it, more than 70,000 engines replaced outright. The hybrid versions in the Sequoia were not included in those recalls, and that is the honest truth. But you are being asked to pay between roughly $62,000 and $84,000 for a compromised body wrapped around the newest, most complicated engine family Toyota makes during the exact years that family is proving itself the hard way. I would not. And if you genuinely need a full-size Toyota with a third row, I will tell you what plenty of sharp buyers are quietly doing. They are finding a clean, well-serviced previous generation Sequoia with that old 5.7 V8, paying half the money and getting more cargo room and a simpler engine in the bargain. Sometimes the best new truck is a used one. And worst number 1 is the vehicle with the wheels, the Toyota BZ4X, now renamed simply the BZ for 2026. This was Toyota's first real mass-market electric vehicle, and it launched about as badly as a vehicle can launch. Within months of the first deliveries, Toyota recalled it because the wheel hub bolts could loosen and, in the worst case, let a wheel separate from the vehicle while driving. They told owners to stop driving them. There were buybacks. Then came a heating system problem, where a software fault could shut down the heat and the defrost in cold weather, which in a northern winter is not an inconvenience. It is a safety issue. Owners have reported 12-volt battery troubles, laggy software, and charging sessions that fail to start. And underneath all of that sat the fundamentals. Advertised fast charging up to 150 kilowatts that many owners never actually saw. All-wheel drive versions capped even lower, charging that slows to a crawl in the cold, and real-world winter range that can fall by 20 to 40%. That last part is not a defect, by the way. It is chemistry. A lithium battery is a chemical reaction, and cold slows chemical reactions, so the pack holds less usable energy and accepts charge more slowly, while the cabin heater drinks from the same pool the wheels do. Every electric vehicle deals with this. The good ones deal with it gracefully. This one, in its early years, did not. The market noticed. Early examples have depreciated harder than almost anything else wearing this badge, which tells you what buyers actually think once the honeymoon ends. Now, in fairness, the 2026 refresh brings more power, more range, faster charging, and the Tesla-style charging port. And Toyota engineers openly admit they were answering years of complaints. Good. But the broader picture has not changed. The latest industry dependability numbers show battery electric vehicles averaging 237 problems per 100 vehicles against 198 for plain gas vehicles, and plug-in models faring even worse. Toyota built its name on being the last company to hand you an experiment. The BZ was an experiment, sold at full price, with your family in it. Let the second or third owner absorb that lesson. And I will give you the flip side, because I promised you honesty over drama. Those brutal early depreciation numbers mean a used example can now be had shockingly cheap. And if you are a two-car household with a driveway charger and short commutes, a used one with every recall verified complete by the vehicle identification number, a documented battery health report, and years left on the battery warranty can actually be a rational buy. As a new purchase at full sticker against everything else this company builds, it stays at the bottom of my list. Now let us talk about where the badge still means exactly what your father thought it meant, counting down 4 best picks. Best number 4 is the Toyota Corolla Cross Hybrid. And this is the purest distillation of old Toyota thinking you can buy new today. It is a small, tall wagon built on Corolla bones, with a 2-liter hybrid system making 196 horsepower and all-wheel drive standard. It starts around $30,800, and it returns a rated 42 miles per gallon combined. And here is the detail I love. When the road testers at Edmunds ran one on their real-world loop, it did not just meet the rating, it beat it, logging over 45 miles per gallon. Machines that outperform their own paperwork are rare, and they are almost always simple machines. Repair data backs it up, with reliability ratings near the top of the scale and estimated 5-year ownership costs thousands of dollars below the class average. And look at how the all-wheel drive works, because it is a lovely piece of thinking. There is no drive shaft running the length of the vehicle. The rear wheels get their own small electric motor that wakes up only when the fronts slip or you pull away hard. Fewer spinning parts, fewer joints to wear, Fewer things to leak, nothing to service back there. They call it electronic on-demand all-wheel drive. Forget the name. It is a helper motor that works when needed and sleeps when it is not, which is exactly the kind of engineering this channel exists to celebrate. Nobody is going to accuse this thing of being exciting. The rear seat is tight for tall passengers, the engine drones when you push it, and it will never once raise your pulse. I do not care, and if you are watching this channel, I suspect you do not either. This is an appliance in the best and most honorable sense of that word. The kind of vehicle you buy, service on schedule, and hand to your kid a decade later still running like a sewing machine. Its only real competitor with all-wheel drive costs thousands more and burns more fuel doing it. For a first car, a commuter, or the family runabout that just has to work every single morning, this is the smartest $30,000 in the lineup. Best number 3 is the Toyota 4Runner. And yes, I am putting a body-on-frame truck with a brand new drivetrain on the best list, so let me earn that. The 4Runner was redesigned recently after 15 years of the old model, and the old model is precisely why this one makes the cut. That outgoing generation, with its 4-liter V6, just won its segment in the latest large-scale dependability study of 3-year-old vehicles, and the nameplate carries one of the strongest reputations for long-term durability in the entire industry. Consumer Reports currently predicts its reliability well above average, among the best of anything Toyota sells. The new truck starts around $43,000 with destination, runs a 2.4-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder making 278 horsepower, and offers a hybrid version pushing 326 horsepower and a massive 465 pound-feet of torque with 6,000 pounds of towing either way. Now the honest caveats, because there are real ones. That 4-cylinder gets rough and buzzy at full throttle in a way the old V6 never did. Fuel economy is still mediocre, low 20s in mixed driving. The hybrid trims climb steeply, from the mid-50,000s to nearly 70 grand. And it rides like what it is, a truck. But here is what seals it: resale. The 4Runner holds its value better than any other new SUV on the market this year according to the Resale Value Awards. And right now, examples are actually selling a couple $1,000s under sticker. A vehicle built on a proven truck platform, sharing its running gear with the Tacoma, that the market refuses to let depreciate. That is not marketing. That is millions of miles of accumulated evidence talking. Practical advice if you go this way. For most people, the standard engine in a mid-level trim is the sweet spot. And if you need 7 seats, know that the third row only comes on certain non-hybrid trims, so check before you fall in love with a paint color. And do the boring thing that everybody skips. If you plan to keep it 15 years, which is the entire point of a 4Runner, buy the one with the simplest set of options you can live with. Every powered gadget is a future repair, and the trails do not care about your ventilated seats. Best number 2 is the Toyota Grand Highlander Hybrid. And this is the vehicle that makes both the regular Highlander and the Sequoia look silly, which is exactly why I ranked those two where I did. Remember the running theme here. Same company, same parts bin, wildly different judgment. The Grand Highlander takes the proven 2.5-liter hybrid system, the one with the planetary gears and almost nothing to brake, wraps it in a genuinely full-size body with a third row that actual adults can sit in, and returns up to 36 miles per gallon. And let me clear up the word that scares people on the spec sheet. It says continuously variable transmission, and everybody thinks of the belt-driven units from other brands that grenade at 120,000 miles. This is not that. Toyota's hybrid unit has no belt at all. Just a single planetary gear set splitting power between the engine and two electric motors, permanently meshed, nothing slipping, nothing to snap. The old mechanics who have opened these up will tell you there is almost nothing inside to fail, and the taxi fleets of the world have proven it across decades and millions of hard miles. In a 3-row family hauler, with a driving range that can top 600 miles on a single tank. The hybrid starts around $46,000, which is more than $20,000 less than a base Sequoia, while offering more usable cargo space behind the third row. Let that sink in. The cheaper vehicle carries more of your stuff. If you tow, there is a hybrid max version making 362 horsepower and 400 pound-feet, good for 5,000 pounds of trailer and a sprint to 60 in under 6 seconds. My honest note there, the max powertrain can shift a little lumpy around town. And for most families, the standard hybrid is the sweeter, simpler choice anyway. The bigger problem is finding one. Demand is so strong that dealer supply has at times been measured in days, not months. So you may wait, and you will not see big discounts. Wait anyway. This is the proven drivetrain in the right body, at the honest price point, and it is quietly the best family vehicle Toyota builds. Which brings us to best number 1, the 2026 Toyota RAV4. And I told you at the top, there was a catch. Here it is. This is an all-new 6th generation, first-year redesign, and the dependability surveys have literally nothing on it yet, because it has not existed long enough to measure. Every rule of careful buying says wait for year 2. So why is it number 1? Because of what is underneath. Toyota made a decision with this generation that tells you exactly where their head is. They killed the plain gas engine entirely. Every single RAV4 sold now is a hybrid or a plug-in hybrid, built on that same 2.5-liter architecture the company has been polishing since the 90s. This is not a new experiment like the BZ was. It is the most proven drivetrain in the modern industry, finally made standard on the best-selling SUV in America. Think about what that architecture quietly deletes from your future repair bills. There is no conventional starter motor, because the big electric motor spins the engine to life. There is no alternator, because the hybrid system generates its own power. There is no drive belt spinning accessories, no turbocharger glowing red under the hood. And the brakes last practically forever because the motors do most of the slowing down and put that energy back in the battery. Every one of those absences is a part that cannot strand you. And that is the real reason the old ones rack up 300,000 miles. The base hybrid starts at $33,350, including destination. Makes 226 horsepower with front-wheel drive or 236 with all-wheel drive, and returns up to 43 miles per gallon combined. The plug-in version is the sleeper of the whole lineup, 324 horsepower, 60 in around 5.5 seconds, up to 52 miles of pure electric driving for your daily errands with a gas engine standing behind it for everything else. And remarkably, it now starts over $3,000 cheaper than last year's equivalent, from about $43,000. Certain trims even added fast charging. My caveat stand. First-year electronics, a new software platform, and demand currently outrunning supply, so do not let a dealer talk you over sticker. But when the bones are this proven, the first-year risk is about rattles and apps, not engines and transmissions. This is the badge keeping its promise. Now here is the part of this that actually matters, because there is a pattern hiding in those 7 vehicles, and once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Every vehicle on my worst list is where Toyota chased something. Chased the electric deadline with the BZ. Chased horsepower headlines and emissions targets with a twin-turbo V6 where a lazy V8 used to live. Chased margin with a Highlander priced like a Lexus. And every vehicle on my best list is where Toyota simply kept doing the thing that built the reputation in the first place. That is not a coincidence, and it is worth asking who benefits from you not noticing. There is no money in telling you that the $30,000 Corolla Cross Hybrid will outlast the $80,000 flagship. There is a great deal of money in a badge that lets a dealer charge sticker on everything in the building because Grandpa's pickup ran forever. The reputation was earned by simple, overbuilt, serviceable machines, and it is currently being spent, like a rich kid burning through an inheritance, on complicated ones. The dealer wins either way. If the new engine holds, they sold you the badge. If it fails, the service department is right there. And modern engine work on a twin-turbo hybrid is not a weekend job in your driveway. It is a 5-figure invoice or a warranty fight. Nobody at the factory sat in a dark room planning this. It is just quiet commercial logic. Complexity sells better than it lasts, and by the time the truth surfaces in the 3-year dependability data, the marketing has already moved on to next year's model. Your only defense is to do what we just did. Ignore the badge. Judge the iron. And honestly, that is the deeper thing I want to leave you with. A reputation, whether it belongs to a company or a person, is just stored up trust. And stored up trust is the easiest thing in the world to spend and the slowest thing in the world to rebuild. The old engineers understood that they were not building vehicles. They were building the next 40 years of the company's word. Some of the people at Toyota still understand it. You can see their fingerprints on the planetary gear hybrid that refuses to die. Buying well is really just the skill of telling the difference between a promise being kept and a promise being remembered. That skill works on trucks. It works on tools. It works on most things, if I am honest. So here is what I want you to take away. If you need a small, efficient runabout, the Corolla Cross Hybrid at around $31,000 is the honest bargain of the whole lineup. If you need the family hauler, skip the regular Highlander and the Sequoia entirely and put your money on the Grand Highlander Hybrid at around $46,000, more space, better mileage, 20 grand saved. If you tow, go off pavement, or just want the vehicle that refuses to depreciate, the 4Runner is your truck, and shop it now while examples are going under sticker. And if you want the best all-around SUV Toyota makes, the new RAV4 Hybrid at $33.5 is it, with the plug-in version as the quiet performance bargain of the year. On the other side of the ledger, let somebody else own the first electric experiment. Let somebody else pay flagship money for the smallest cargo hold in the class. And never, ever pay for a badge what you would not pay for the machine wearing it. Do that, and the next time a salesman tells you that you cannot go wrong with a Toyota, you can smile because you will know precisely how wrong you can go, and precisely how right. Tell me in the comments below which Toyota you have owned the longest, how many miles it went, and what finally killed it, if anything ever did. Tell me where you are watching from too, because Rust Country and Sun Country tell very different stories about these vehicles. And I want to hear yours. I read every single one of these comments, and truthfully, the stories you all leave down there are half the reason I keep making these. If this saved you from an expensive mistake, subscribe so you do not miss what is coming next. because it is a big one, we are finally doing the video on lifetime transmission fluid. The sealed transmissions with no dipstick that the industry swears never needs service. I am going to show you what that fluid actually looks like at 100,000 miles and exactly who profits from the word lifetime. You will not think about that word the same way again. Until then, trust the iron, not the sticker, and I will see you in the next one.